God of War is a game about action, slaying trolls, enemies of the dead, gods, and some more awesome stuff. But it's also a story about grounding the player and reminding them that they're not invincible even in this mythical place of Midgard and even the other 9 realms. However, as we progress through the story, we start to understand more around the past and history behind some of the characters along the way, some of them being good for people such as Tyr, the god of war and the one that was very friendly with the giants and that just wanted peace across the 9 realms, but others not so good. And they have some pretty scarring pasts that I want to bring up in this video. Some forced to leave their families for the act of war, have their loved ones killed for no real reason at all. Today I want to focus on Freya, the leader of the Valkyrie and the old god of Valheim, and of course her brother, Freya, the most original names a parent could give both of their children. Leave a like if you go on to enjoy today's video, subscribe if you guys are brand new to the channel as well for more lore breakdowns, and yes, there will be story spoilers in this potentially, so just a warning for those that haven't finished the campaign. However, without further ado, let's dive straight in with the lore breakdown. So, I think we should begin with Freya. Freya is the daughter of Njord, the Vanir god of the seas. However, she does have an unnamed mother that we're not aware of in this game, and is also the sister to Freya. Freya was the leader of the Vanir during their war against the Aesir, and after years of fighting, Mimir, Odin's advisor at the time, gave a solution for the fight between the 2 factions. Freya and Odin would marry each other. Freya essentially agreed to marry Odin in order to stop the bloodshed around her realm and bring peace between the 2 sides, though she never forgave Mimir for doing that. Which is why there was so much tension in the first game when Freya had to revive Mimir when Kratos cut off his head. In addition, by this time, she had to become the leader of the Valkyries as well, a group sworn to protect the realm and lead the dead to Valhalla. Whilst Freya was with Odin, she had to show him her magic and began to experiment, using it for unjust purposes at the time. Odin and Freya would later go on to have a child named Baldur, whom she cherished more than anything, as her marriage to Odin became more strained due to her husband's greedy lust for knowledge. Learning of a prophecy that would kill her son, she decided to cast a spell of invulnerability on Baldur, making him feel no pain from injuries. However, this spell worked a little bit too well in Baldur's favour, resulting in him not being able to taste, feel anything at all, and demanded to have it taken away from him. Despite his plea, she stated that it couldn't be removed, and told him that he would thank her later in the long run, but he attempted to kill her before leaving in resentment. Baldur would continue to find a way to break the spell going forward, as Freya lied to him on how to break it through the mistletoe arrows that Atreus had in the first game, given to us by Sindri. Eventually, Freya would break off a marriage to Odin due to his cruelty, and the Norse god becoming violent, notably Thor killing all of those giants mercilessly, for almost no reason whatsoever. If you want more details on this lore and around the giants Tyr and Odin, go check the video out on the screen right now, also on a card. It goes into the details and the history between Tyr and Odin, and of course the slaying of these giants, so it's a very interesting video. I'd recommend to watch it. Angered that the marriage was broken, Odin cursed the goddess to never be able to leave Midgard or harming any living creature at all. In addition, he took away her wings as well, so she was no longer a Valkyrie. This resulted leaving the Valkyries within Asgard to deal with Odin, and later to become corrupt. This event was not taken well by others, who saw that Freya had a warrior's spirit, and she was left in isolation. However, before Freya broke off her marriage with Odin, Freya was told about there being a secret weakness within the Asgardian wall by the builder himself, in preparation for the downfall of Aesir in Ragnarok. However, one day in Midgard when Freya was wandering around, Freya discovers Charlie, which is the turtle that she lived in throughout the entirety of the first game, and when she was banished to Midgard from that entire time, so almost around 100 years or so, as it was mentioned in the lore of the game. Freya and Charlie essentially created a pact to one another. Freya promised to protect Charlie from anything, any intruders or any animals or anything like that going forward, and Charlie would provide Freya with shelter and warmth. It was at that point and that day on that Freya would begin her life in Midgard, growing crops around her land and even resulting into setting a barrier and underground escape routes in case of any unexpected guests. Freya would also ensure that she had a protection rune cast upon her at all times and also around her house and crops, even meeting new friends along the way, such as Hildisvíni and more. Hildisvini, by the way, being the boar that we shot in the first game, and of course the person in the second game that helps us with Ragnarok. It was at this time one day that Hildisvini returned to Freya's house with an arrow in the side of him that Atreus of course had shot for target practice. From that day on, Freya's life changed forever, and that's when they met Kratos and Atreus. However, Freya's brother had an equally troubling upbringing and just general life when Freya of course was married to Odin and past that as well. Freya, who was also a leader of the Vanir, attested to have initially wished for his kind to have cooperation with the Aesir gods, travelling across the realms and teaching them how to harvest crops, as well as spells that could facilitate the provisions of all of Asgard. The diplomacy appeared to work for a time, but the stubborn nature of the Aesir caused them to blame Freya for their eventual inability to properly use the magic that he had taught. Freya was subsequently burned by Odin and the Aesir gods, but he was able to survive and escape Asgard and return to his home in Vanaheim. Because of what had just occurred, this replaced Freya's carefreeness with anger and paranoia for a long time. Due to the incident that happened in Asgard, this event cited as one of the catalysts for the Aesir-Vanir War. So this was even before Freya had married Odin, by the way. Freya is noted for being one of the few gods welcomed in Alfheim as well, to the point that he has his own temple there, which Mimir describes as beautiful. According to Mimir, Freya had a long history with the elves as well. Atreus finds a note in the first game within the temple which was left by one of the Light Elves, who had recently regained control of the Light of Alfheim, but believed Freya's presence would ensure the true peace. Freya had sent them forces and the Sword of Legend to help the Light Elves, but he himself has yet to appear. The Light Elves wish to help Freya. Some believe he has returned to Vanaheim, whilst others believe he's being held in Asgard. Unfortunately, the paths to both realms are completely shut at the time. It was later revealed in Ragnarok that Freya had abandoned Alfheim to its fate in response to Freya's decision in marrying Odin to bring peace to all of the realms. He also held a strong hatred for Mimir under false belief that he had sold Freya to the Aesir, as well as wanting to cut off his head himself. Essentially, in response to the war, Freya and Odin were then married, and that was essentially Mimir's idea to go ahead and do that. When they were married, Odin wanted Freya to teach him her magic, and essentially use it for things that weren't so good, causing a lot of destruction across the 9 realms. Moving to Freya's brother, it was him in Alfheim that met the god Groa. Groa and him were in love essentially, and Groa unfortunately had the visions of Ragnarok. Odin got word of these visions and requested a private retelling from Groa around Ragnarok and what the prophecy shows. Odin didn't like what he saw, essentially Ragnarok destroying all of the 9 realms, in which Odin killed Groa. However, what Groa didn't tell Odin was that in fact that it wasn't going to destroy the 9 realms, and that Ragnarok could only destroy Asgard, and killing Odin in the process. So this was only an additional way to spear on Freya in getting revenge on Odin and teaming up to fight against him in Ragnarok. In Ragnarok, the two eventually find each other in Vanaheim. However, there was a bit of tension at first. Freya essentially thought that her brother had completely abandoned her, not even trying to search for them at all. Freya believed that his sister was dead and that Odin had killed her. Freya didn't even try to look for his sister. He thought that she was probably dead somewhere or in a prison within Asgard, and it would have been suicide to try and go there. The time that they were away from each other, he mourned her death, without knowing that she was bound to one singular place within Midgard and there this entire time. It looks as though Freya was in Vanaheim this entire time, trying to rebel against Odin and prepare for his attack if it ever did come. But both of these Vanir leaders have had their fair share of trauma, and to be honest, the ending of Ragnarok is very sad as well. Ragnarok had finally reached Odin's home when we had just managed to kill him, and as Ragnarok's sword strikes the earth, Freya decides to use some form of spell to prevent the flames from spitting into everyone and the lava completely covering them. If Freya had left or moved away from that particular section, then the entirety of the group would have been killed there and then. Freya decides to stay behind and sacrifice himself to prevent Ragnarok from killing the entirety of the group. This way also he could join Groa in Valhalla, being killed in battle and being with his loved one again. After this point onwards, Kratos, Freya and Mimir travel around Midgard to try and complete all of the tasks that are there as well, and along the way, find new secrets and lore depicting what Odin was up to, and maybe some more lore around some of the characters as well. But guys, that is going to be it for this video. It's going to be a really interesting one around the two, Freya and Freya. They've got a very interesting backstories as well, and with Freya being married to Odin as well and essentially wanting revenge throughout the entirety of the game, and also her brother as well being set on fire by the Aesir and essentially hating her sister for marrying to stop this war. But it was all done to try and stop the war between these two realms, to try and bring peace. But of course, that didn't happen and only resulted in even more trouble. That is the lore between the two characters, Freya and Freya. Let me know if you guys think down below. And if I have missed anything around these two, please do leave it down below. I'll pin the comment if it is obviously something big that I've missed. But yeah, let me know down below. But I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Leave a like if you have, everyone. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you guys are brand new also. And we'll see everyone in the next video.